Hey everybody, I'm Jack Reeder with Future Pastimes. I'm one of the designers of Arrakis, Dawn of the Fremen. This is a strategy game for 2 to 4 players where everybody is a Fremen tribe. And this is on Arrakis 100 generations before the events of Dune. So the Fremen are sort of a novel group of tribes. They're not united, and they are ruthlessly fighting it out amongst themselves, gathering resources. And the object of the game is to build three sieges in various territories on Arrakis. And if you can have at least three of them and hold them to the end of a cycle, then you win the game. And in this video, I want to talk about a custom expansion that I have been designing that I call Heroes of Arrakis. This is not something that'll ever be published because Gale Force 9 is basically sunsetting Arrakis. Just didn't do quite as well as they were hoping. Partly it was just the number of Dune games that all came out at the same time. Partly because I think we're in kind of a kinder and gentler paradigm of board gaming. So while this has resource gathering for developments of still suits and crysknives and sieges, it is also a very cutthroat, brutal game of attacking the other players, and I don't know. They're just not that in vogue. Those types of games, but these are the types of games that I grew up with, so I love this game. I think it's great. I think it's very thematic, and I think it's a really interesting strategy game. We have some playthrough videos on the channel, and some of the other people that we play with also have playthrough videos, so it does have some fans. And I think we like this idea because it adds some thematics. I think maybe one of the other things is that there's no familiar characters in Arrakis, just because it does take place 1,000 years ago, and from their timeline. So the idea here is we are introducing some characters. So you can see there's Stilgar and there's Chani and Jamis and a couple other faces. And then you can gain these characters and add them to your territory. So typically the way it works is, somebody is controlling a number of territories, which is during the setup, you're going to stake out certain parts of the board. And you're going to be able to eventually add in those developments that I talked about, and you'll get worms, which can be used for battle, but also for transporting goods around as you are getting these resources that you need in order to build your sieges. And as you can see from here, it takes either 4 spice or one of each of the 4 resources in the game. But they have to all be in the territory where you want to build the thing, which is one of the things that makes this game interesting. So here we're adding this idea that in the development phase, because there are different phases to a cycle, you would normally use your resources to develop these sorts of things. These are the things you can develop. But here what you can do is you can trade in those resources in order to gain a hero. And there would be a certain number of these face-ups. So if you're playing a 4-player game, there would be 4 of them face-up. And the turn order could matter because you might not... you might have the same resources and yes, these are the 4 that are face up, and you're like, oh, I'd love to add Stilgar to one of my territories, but you're going later in the turn order and somebody else gets Stilgar, so maybe you'll get Shishakli instead. But what you do is you're going to spend these resources. So if you have 1 food, 1 worm tooth, and 2 spice, you can cash that in, and then you can add Stilgar to one of your territories. And I don't have the scripting on, so he's adding 1, but he should be adding 3 because that is his combat strength right there. So this territory would actually have 4 in it, and that is his movement. But in addition to that, Stilgar, all of these heroes have an ability. So Stilgar and a crysknife in his territory bears over rock barriers. So let's talk about what that means. So if I've got Stilgar, let's take Stilgar out here. And I want to attack this territory here called drift. The way that normally this works is you calculate how much strength you have in the territories adjacent to the territory you want to take. So here I've got 2, and here I've got 3. That's 5. This territory has 1, but it also counts the strength of its own tribe that's bearing on it. So that's 2 more because of these borders. But this is less. 3 is less than 5. However, rock barriers, which are placed at the beginning of the game, they confound that a little bit by, these territories, none of the strength in this territory bears on this territory. So while red here has 3 strength for drift, this teal color only has the 2 from high expanse. Now, there is a little thing where you can do a send stuff in, so I could still take this territory. But let's say instead of a worm, let's say I didn't even have a worm, I had the crysknife, which is adding, so I have even more strength now. But this strength doesn't bear, and I can't get in there. But if I've got Stilgar, and a crysknife in this territory, it bears over rock territory. So I don't have to move anybody. I'm now counting all the strength, and Stilgar himself would be adding another 3. So I would have 4 here, 5, 6, 7, and then 8, 9. I'd have a lot of strength with Stilgar, so that's a big deal. Now, this is expensive. Giving up all of these resources, this could actually be helping me win the game. So I'm putting that off in order to get this extra strength. So that's why you consider doing that. I would have to have all of these resources in a territory in order to add Stilgar, and I'd be adding him to that territory. So that's the other trade-off. Now let's say instead, either I don't have the food or I want to save that. I get Shashakli instead. Her ability is that when she moves with a sandworm, so let's grab Shashakli here and let's bring our sandworm back in. She can move 1 extra territory. So the sandworm can move 3 if you're using a sandworm here. So this would be 2 strength there, plus 1, plus 3. So that's 6 strength. I can move 4 territories with that, which is, that's only 2 territories to go there. But let's say that I've taken this one, and 1, 2, 3, and I want to get even farther out. Shashakli is going to help me. And again, she is adding that 1 strength as well. So that is that's how it works. So we have, as you can see, we have 12 of these heroes. And these are all characters right out of the book. So shout out Mapes was in the movie. Othium in the book, not really in the movie. Namri, all of these really interesting and unique abilities that you can add in there. So I think this would add a lot of really interesting thematic, some strategic elements, the tactical choice of, do I save up, like these resources right here? This would be pretty useful for, again, this is a still suit, maybe 2 still suits with that. With a water, you're talking about a crysknife. So it's a tough choice, and that's what I like best about board gaming, is having to make a tough choice. Do I use those resources to get a hero that will really give me an edge, probably the edge that I will need in order to win the game? Or do I save those resources for more practical things like weapons and getting those sieges that you need? Sometimes you can build a siege, but can you defend it? It's only adding, the siege itself only adds 1 strength to the defense of the territory that it's in. It's going to double your production in that territory or in adjacent territories, which is nice when you have these production sites. They're producing the different resources. And so the presence of a siege nearby doubles that production. But again, if, I've got this down here, that's only a 2 defense. Now I'm adding these other in here. So this is actually fairly well protected, but it is right on the border here of red. So we can safely assume that red isn't just controlling these 3 territories, not early on. They probably are going to have a few resources of their own. And so this is a very different picture now, where I've got 6 bearing on this territory. Of course, this 7 here is yeah, that's going to be real protection for that. But let's say that these aren't there, and doesn't have that, doesn't have that either. So this is suddenly a very different picture here. This siege is very vulnerable to attack from red. And so maybe adding a hero in would make the difference, especially if I I don't have what I need to make a crisp knife, but I could potentially add in Dr. Kynes and that ability. When you scavenge, you may draw 2 cards, choosing one. That could be a big deal too. So you're like, oh, I'm scavenging here. Oh, look, there's a Mala pistol. That's pretty nice. Or a Jubba cloak. I think I'll take the Mala pistol. So that's a nice choice there. So this needs playtesting. So I'm not releasing this just yet to be like, yeah, let's go for it. I need to playtest this more. I need to make sure that the resource numbers and types make sense. That it's not too much. That it's also not too easy. And so if it's too easy of a choice, then that doesn't really interest me as a designer. I want these to be a tough choice between, Jamis, you can have 2 stillsuit tokens in his territory. That's another +1. And sometimes, you've got like, all right, well, I've got this extra water, and I've got Jamis is in this territory. Normally, this water, you can't do anything with it by itself, especially if you would have to move it somewhere else. And maybe there's something else you'd rather move. Or maybe shipping doesn't happen because you've rolled the storm. So you're like, well, I've got Jamis here. Yeah, I might as well build another stillsuit because look what that does. Boosts that strength again. And here I might say, yeah, I want to attack this territory. I can move this to attack in here. I could just send in the stillsuit. And if I were to send in a stillsuit in a territory that has one of them will get destroyed at the end of that battle. So here I'm like, great, I can just move that over there and attack without it. So there's going to be reasons why some of these will appeal more to you, and you may create situations. And you're like, now that I've got Namri in here, so maybe I want to get Namri adjacent so that I can steal water from an adjacent territory. So that it opens up new pathways for you. So let me know in the comments what you think of this as a concept. If you're somebody who would like to help play test this, let me know. I mean, it's not going to be published, so there's no NDAs. I've already talked about it. Here it is. There's nothing secret about this. Let's play some Arrakis and see if this works, and then we can make some files to put out, and people can print their own cards and maybe make some tokens on their own. That's it for this one, everyone. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.